Namaste. Welcome to the beginning of another live Sangha. May this be an offering to the divinity within you. I would like to begin just before our first guests arrive with an invocating Gayatri mantra. So if you know it, you're welcome to join with me. Om Bhuvasvaha Tatsaviturvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yodnaf Prachodayat. Om. Welcome. Allow me to set the intention for this space as one in which everyone is allowed to express themselves freely, such that we come together as fellow students of life to uplift each other, learn from each other's experience, find value, take refuge in it, uplift one another, and share positive sentiments. So, thank you. I trust that all those who are joining now are feeling as well as they can be, regardless of whatever circumstances they may be feeling in this moment. I trust that you will be able to make do with everything that this universe offers to you, and that infinitely divine soul will make it through each moment, no matter what happens. Namaste, Ace. Namaste, Molly. Namaste, dear Lily Moore. Happy to have you here. You are amongst the first guests here today. Very delighted to be doing another live stream, as it means so much to me to be able to be here for those whom find value in this space, and I hope that you know that this is a place in which you feel accepted. Happy Mama's Day shares impolite questions. Happy Mama's Day. Where is it Mama's Day in the world for you? I would love to know. I believe in Canada we celebrate it on a different day. But hello Ragnhildur. Namaste. Welcome. Shout out to all the mamas in the world. As we await our guests to continue to come through, I would like to reveal the question of the day today. If you want to explore it with me, today I'm wondering, how do we allow our mind to rest? How do we allow our mind to rest? I'd like to know. No wrong answer. And I'm not looking for a right answer. And thank you, dear Malice, for the rose you sent as well. Radhe Radhe. And that's right, Molly. Every day is Mama's Day. Well said. I'm happy to hear that my videos blew your mind, dear Jenny. I hope we can, in this live stream, put all the pieces back together. Good to have a whole mind in one piece. And good evening, Lala Michelle. I am well today, thank you. How are you? Hello, dear Rosa. Molly, you share that we can allow our mind to rest by breathing. There is a deep connection between our breath and our nervous system, especially our parasympathetic nervous system. Slow, rhythmic, continuous, natural, organic breathing stimulates our nerves in just the right way to initiate the rest and digest response. And hello, Hail Horse. You share that you are sad again, not doing well. I'm sorry to hear that. If you feel comfortable talking about it, you're welcome to. Otherwise, I trust that the space is one for you to feel accepted in, regardless of your circumstance. It's completely normal to feel sad. Even during that sadness, it's possible to find an underlayer of peace that is there in the background, pervading it. Dear Lala, you share we can allow our mind to rest by living in the moment. Yesterday is done and gone. As for tomorrow, be at peace. Don't set expectations. I like your words, dear Lala. Thank you for sharing that. Ragnhildur, you share by trusting in the present moment. That trust, that presence, and living moment by moment are certainly great things to achieve mental peace. Hello, dear Dalen. You share that you let your mind rest by watching a Yam live. And you saw my mom. She's pretty. Wow. Now you know where I get it from, right? My mom is very pretty. And I'm nowhere near as pretty as her. But I'm happy to hear that you let your mind rest in these live streams. Lilimor, you share by going into nature. That's a great answer too. You know, it's really hard to be stressed out when you're in a meadow, maybe on the grass, surrounded by trees and flowers, by the ocean, on a mountain. Assuming you're safe, of course. And thank you, dear Zadina Charin, for your rose. Om Namah Shakti Shivaya. Wow, you share acceptance. A wonderful one-word answer. Hello, Anazek. Nice singing on your live stream earlier. Molly, you share by observing the mind instead of identifying with it. Very meditative of you. And Skippy, on a bad day, you share that you just fall in the moon. You are French, so you're not sure the right way to say it. Just fall in the moon, hey? I'm not sure if that translates into English in a way that I recognize, but I love it already. Falling in the moon. Whatever it means, I want to do it. Dear Hail Horse, you share that you've been having panic attacks lately and your heart is broken. I certainly know what both of those feelings are like, and I imagine that many people here also know what it's like to experience panic and heartbreak. So I hope you can find camaraderie in our shared experience. It's certainly natural to feel that way given some circumstances of life. Yeah, and I know you'll get through this. Your impolite questions. You share we can allow our mind to rest by embracing what we can control and accepting what we can't. Sounds like the Serenity Prayer, which I really love. It was my grandfather's favorite prayer. Here, JL, you asked the question, how to overcome loneliness? Beautiful question. In any way we can open up to others in our lives, sometimes, and I'm not saying this is always the case, but sometimes It's a matter of sharing something that we previously held back because we already assumed that we weren't going to be understood. And so we've created a kind of isolating experience. But by breaking down those expectations and just share what's on your heart, who knows what could happen? But even when you are physically alone, you are surrounded by the energy of the universe, which we know has a kind of aliveness to it because you are a part of it. All of life is. Just like we were when we were children, we were surrounded by the aliveness of the universe. Just speaking your thoughts out into your bedroom air, being with a tree, petting a puppy, looking at the stars, you can feel like you are together with every atom in the existence. Dear Separatio, you share. One day at a time, we can allow our mind to rest. So true, by finding ourselves situated in a moment which need not rely on another moment, just finding a self-supporting moment. Thank you, Zadina Choren. I did have a nice day today. Welcome. Ooh, I'm a little in the past. Speaking of time, I have to catch up to the present of comments. I'm happy that you feel safe and loved here, dear Hail Horse. I'm grateful that you find a lot of peace here too, dear Lala. And hello, the end. And thank you, dear JL, for your 11 roses too. Brahm Bhairvaya Namo Namaha. Lita, you share the ADHD brain freeze frequency. We're actually listening to something similar, but yeah, there are audios that we can use to allow our mind to rest, that's for sure. Grateful human, you had shared by letting the sun fall into you. I love that. I'm happy that you find goodness in the question, the end. You share an absence of speech. Practicing mauna, it's called in Sanskrit. Silence can have an effect on the mind too. And dear Lala, you share that you are empathetic to anxiety and panic. No one should feel that. I'm happy you can relate to dear Hail Horse. But you can say that you're there if they want to talk. I love that. Lanina Charen, you share looking at the moon, being aware of where the sun is from there and our position. I like that. It's very grounding to recognize that we are in the most habitable place in our solar system. And thank you, Dwelt Buzzard, for the fire you sent as well. Om Namah Shakti Shivaya. Dear Mama Angel Cindy, you ask if I can explain my thoughts on being in the now, present. Of course, we're always now. It's just that while we're here, oftentimes our thoughts are situated in a time that has already been or yet to be. We are thinking about what that person said to us earlier in the day. We are thinking about when we should do that thing we really needed to do. Maybe we are thinking about something embarrassing that happened in 3rd grade, or we are thinking about what we'll be doing 10 years from now. lot of our time, incidentally, is spent outside of this time that exists now. If you truly think about something that actually is occurring in this moment, so many thoughts subside. What is there to truly think about in this moment? Doesn't involve any other time. The more we can bring our mind to just what's here now, the more present we are, and the less we are wandering through our memories or imagination. And you'll find that this moment is free of expectation. It is free of having to fulfill any role. This moment is independent, and you will find the fullness of life there. And back to the question of the day. Dear Zadina Jaren, you share resting in the awareness of how small we are and how much we can enjoy. I love that. Thank you, dear Viber, for your Heart Me and Team bracelet too. Jai Shri Krishna. Dear Sky Guardian, your answer to our question of the day is by slowing down the breath, such as doing pranayama. Thank you for sharing that. Happy to have you here, my friend. Hello, Amanda. You share by practicing acceptance, you can control everything or do everything all at once. Sorry, you can't control everything or do everything all at once. Yes. Dear Lala Michelle, you asked if I had any siblings. I have one younger sister. She is 15. And dear Billy, you share that you're here with your mom to introduce me to her. Can I say hi to Rodha? It'll shock her. Well, I hope that she is grounded electrically so that I do not electrocute her. But what a beautiful being you are, and to wonder what kind of mother that raised you in her heart, then I imagine that she is equally as beautiful, if not more. Not to say that you are any less beautiful, but still we are growing in the space of the womb of our mother's love, and thus there is so much beauty of hers that we have yet to grow into. Yes, my sister is 8 years younger than me. Welcome, dear Stephen. Real, I like your model. Life is a 3D movie. Eyes are the TV, you are the actor, and your mind is the director. Very fun with that. Dear Melissa, you are a Mariah Carey fan, and you do meditation in the morning. That is an excellent thing to do to rest our mind. Dear Real, you had also added to live in the now, to create happy moments to look back on. No need to worry about past or future. Dear Magdalene, you share to be here now. Archimus, you share that you like to drink tulsi tea and put on an audiobook and just drift into the cosmos of imagination. Very beautiful. Hello, Bob. Thank you, dear Amanda. JL, you had asked, what activities are good for de-stress? It's not the kind of activities which stress us out, but it's the intention itself. Even a relaxing activity can be stressful if we expect it to relax us. If we go in with all of these attachments to achieving some result, because if it turns out that it doesn't quite work the way that we thought it did, then we're only going to get more stressed out. And I think many of us know what that's like, where you just try to get comfy in your bed, you can't sleep, and so you flip your pillow over, and you open that window to get the cool air in, and you shut off that light in the corner of the room, and you lay there and you go, this will work. And then after how many minutes of tossing and turning, you go, ah! Maybe you don't actually scream, but mentally it's like, now I'm even more stressed because I can't sleep. So the key to de-stressing is shifting our perspective, which can happen entirely within, without ever doing anything different. Our actions may remain just the same, but rather, we find some kind of peace in the moment itself, in the ability to engage. For example, if the stress is coming from work, and we find fulfillment in the ability to serve others, which covers most types of work, we don't worry so much about hitting that deadline or whether our boss is going to like the result. We know that our best is enough, and so we do as we normally do, but keep the knowledge in our intellect situated there, that the effort you apply is the gift to the world, and that ability to give is the way that the world gives back by providing new meaning and purpose. And when we want to de-stress physically at the end of our day, we do any kind of relaxation technique, but we do it for the sake of giving back to the world at a later time, because recharging means that we'll be able to store even more love to bring others next time. Everything we do, if we do it as a service to everything that can receive our love and attention, then we can live free of expectations of ourselves, without attachment to the results of our actions. Stress cannot touch you. And dear old 89er, you share that you find music is the best way to rest the mind. I like that. Dear Harmonica Press, you share Zen moment, flow without thought, and you find it best in art. I like that. Dear Amanda, you share to rethink the narrative, take in your surroundings, be yourself. Lovely. Amanda, you added to that, be intentional. Being intentional means you will set your mind to doing something such as resting. Love these insights. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. hope that all of us can learn from each other, something from each other, as we continue to learn ways of resting our mind. Hello, Dakintan. May you fall asleep in peace, dear hale horse, and wake up in peace too. Dear Maddie, you share that you just watched a scary movie and now you're stressed. Must have been a good one then. As it certainly served its job to provoke you. Well, I hope that this space can be the complement of a scary movie. May this space be like a cuddle to your heart. Alright, goodbye, dear Billy, and your lovely mom. Thank you, dear Benjamin, for the heart you sent to Om Dum Dargaye Namaha. Dalkinton, you share that you've been watching comedy specials, put you in a good mood. I like that. When I used to watch something scary, afterwards I'd watch a children's show. One of the ones that used to make me feel more calm was Tupi and Binu. How many of you did watch that children's show? I imagine very few. Thank you, Maddie, for your rose. Om Kring Kalikaye Namaha. You remember watching Tupi and Binu, Arya? Doc Jana, thank you for your hand hearts. I wish to give you some too. Namah Shivaya. Dear Gamma Gemma Gamma, you loved Tupi and Binu. Amanda, you liked it too. Tupi, Binu. Tupi, Tupi, Binu, Binu. Hey Melissa, you share that your favorite children's show is Sharon Lewis and Brahm Elephant Show. I love elephants. I don't know if I've heard that show before, but I am deeply mystified by the beauty of animals such as elephants. Thank you, dear JL, for your septet of roses. Jaya Sitaram. And Anazek, thank you for your finger heart. Here's one too. Om Aim Saraswatyai Namaha. I hope you enjoy watching Tupi and Binu, Doc Jana. Amanda, you share that Dragon Tales was the bomb.com too. You're wondering, what are my thoughts on absurdism? There's so much truth to that. Life is like a divine comedy. Dear NM, hello. You ask if I have a day job. I'm so honored to be able to pay for all my expenses just by the generosity that's shared through these live streams. don't consider it my job, because I'd still show up no matter what. Doc Jana, you share that you watch Bluey now. Your kids are grown and you're watching new kids shows. I find that so fascinating, the evolution of children's shows. Dear Jenny, you share that your mom passed away. When you have dreams about her, do I think they're really visits? Absolutely. Because everything that we know about our mom, for example, we know through our experience of her. Like when you watch me now, we don't truly watch the physical because you see the light coming off. But even then, for me, for example, the light is getting received by a camera and then being emitted by the LEDs in your phone screen. And then that hits our retinas, gets converted by some sort of electrochemical reaction, sends signals through our optic nerves, creates some kind of synaptic response in our brain, and then upon our mind's eye, we see the image of the things we look at. Therefore, everything that we experience, that we know of, appears to us as the form of consciousness. Since by the time it goes through this whole process of coming to us, what we truly see is our own consciousness taking the form of, in this case, our mother. And just in dream, we experience the exact same thing, our own consciousness taking the form of our mother. And that's true not just for our mother, but everyone that makes an impression on us. Even more to that, a mother is extra special because she literally grew this. If she is your birth mother, then on a physical level, you are the flesh and blood of her. You are your mother. But even if she is more of a godmother, spiritual mother, adopted mother, you were grown in the heart of her love, which radiates all around her. That essence is a part of you, and so you directly experience that essence in everything you do. Thank you, dear Anazek, for the finger heart and a half a dozen roses. Om Namah Shakti Shivaya. Dear Hybrid Jen, thank you for a rose and a half a dozen fires you sent too. Radhe Radhe. Welcome, Ed Sheeran. Thank you, Lace, for the rose you sent too. Om Brahm Bhairavaya Namo Namaha. Alright, I hope you get enough rest for our big day, dear Ed. Thank you, dear Doc Jana, for the heart meat, team bracelet, and marvelous confetti too. Om Mani Padme Hum. And thank you, Gillian, for your heart meat. Radhe Radhe. very selfless of you, dear Ed. But I would pray that you get as much rest as needed so that I may fight with honor. And so, the challenge may be one which creates ripples throughout humanity for generations to come. Dear Jane, you share that sometimes you wonder if people refrain from respecting mothers because they're afraid somehow. What do I think they're afraid of? Although I have so much love for my mother, that's a privilege that I got to experience because she had so much love for me and still does. And my heart goes out to everyone who didn't have that opportunity for their biological or adopted mothers. However, a mother need not come by the name mom. They can come in many ways, sometimes in different ways at the same time. I believe that a mother is always there. It just might not be in the form of your bodily relations. Sometimes Mother Nature guides us in absence of a physical mother. Sometimes our friends behave like mothers for us and treat us to the same tender love. Sometimes even animals can give us that kind of love. I think perhaps those that are afraid of accepting the love of a mother, they are afraid of realizing that actually something else in their life has been their mother this whole time. It's just that that word had become dirty for them due to the way that someone else in their life used it. Some may use a mother's name in vain, but if one does not truly provide a space for them to grow, can they truly be called a mother? And for the other parts of our life that do so, can we be open-minded enough to see the mother in that space too? Thank you, dear Gillian, for the flowers you sent too. Namo Rudraya. Dear Brie, thank you for your tiny. Yippee! Hello, dear Vincent. You're very curious about my zodiac sign. I'm very happy that you find something of value in this space. I was born on the 1st of October, 2001, at 8:08 in the morning. You can use that information however you'd like, assuming you don't try to steal my identity. Dear Amanda, you share that your zodiac is an asparagus and Mercury is in the microwave. That's right. And thank you, Tattvamasi, for your quintet of roses. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. I'm happy to hear of your curiosity of the little symbols, the end. They are a traditional instrument of the East and are known as manjira, among many names. And don't they just have the sweetest ring to them? Welcome, dear Alexis. I'm sorry to hear that you've been feeling sad. Dear Bree, you ask, do I have any passages to read today? Certainly. I would love to read another section of the hidden power in humans with you. We've been reading all about the foundations of the philosophy of yoga, working our way through Kundalini and chakras, and now we are talking about types of Samadhi, which is states of superconsciousness. And no, dear Spicoli, my body has yet to explore the Eastern Hemisphere, but my heart is certainly already there. Thank you, dear Lace, for the cloud bread you sent to Radhe Radhe. And dear Anna, thank you for your music play. Namah Shakti Shivaya. Dear Ben, everyone is always welcome to question me, and I hope they do. For this to be a healthy and collaborative environment, let us exercise our discernment and compare and contrast our experiences for the purpose of finding common ground. Alright, let's see where we left off. We were exploring the types of Savikalpa Samadhi, which is a state of superconsciousness in which the mind is still active. Let's talk about astral traveling. The next level of Samadhi is reached in the astral world. On this level, we can meet Sri Mahaprabhuji, which is the guru of the author of this book, I believe, and other divine incarnations, liberated and God-realized saints and masters. Here, we receive our first initiation. This means that we experience a purification process in our Atma, in our self, and feel that the koshas, the layers surrounding that self of our being, including our body, are beginning to dissolve. We arrive in the pure divine light that saturates the Atma. In line with our faith and the image of the divine that we carry within us, each of us has different visions and experiences in Samadhi. Though, generally, it means that we have reached a heavenly sphere where we are joyfully welcomed. This is the second, or divine Maya, which is a beautiful word in Sanskrit referring to material existence. Here, we can have many beautiful experiences. we meet the divine masters and return again to the quote-unquote normal world with wisdom and knowledge. Savikalpa Samadhi brings us wonderful heavenly experiences. Afterwards, we can almost become addicted to them, but gradually it becomes clear to us that we are unable to attain liberation in this way, as we are still moving in other levels of consciousness. Then we again begin to strive for realization and are finally guided to Nirvikalpa Samadhi. That is a state in which the mind is perfectly still. In Nirvikalpa Samadhi, there is pure happiness and absolute peace. In Nirvikalpa Samadhi, the Jivatma quenches its lifelong thirst for fulfillment and experiences divine, absolute, and unchanging bliss. It releases itself from the limitations of individuality and merges with the divine self, the supreme consciousness. It experiences itself as the center of the universe, as Atma, the true self, as God. There is no suffering, no pain, no problems in the divine consciousness. Everything is perfect, Purna. There are no wishes, no longing, no knower, no object, and no knowledge, neither time nor space. There is only undivided existence. The identification with the individual self and the individuality dissolves in the all-encompassing cosmic self. In Nirvikalpa Samadhi, we attain moksha, liberation. But this final stage cannot be attained through any technique or practice. It is totally dependent upon divine grace. Sooner or later, everyone will attain moksha, either in this life or another. When the time is ripe, we find ourselves in a state of constant development. But the right moment must be there. Just as a tree cannot bear fruit in spring, a Jivatma must first wander through the cycles of its specific experiences before it can attain moksha. Many people maintain that someone who has attained Nirvikalpa Samadhi and therefore moksha cannot live much longer. There are, however, two types of realization. Some experience God realization, also known as Atma Jnana, knowing wisdom of the self, with full consciousness, and continue to live afterwards as a Jivan Mukta, a realized and liberated soul, in order to pass their knowledge on. Others, however, experience enlightenment and liberation only when they leave the body. Qualitatively, there is no difference. Those who attain moksha at the end of their mortal life are liberated and realized in the same way as those who have attained God realization during their earthly existence. Nirvikalpa Samadhi is a state of indescribable happiness from which we no longer want to return, and from where we can see no reason whatsoever why we should come back. We are everywhere. There is no place where we need to go. Who should return? From where and to where? Nevertheless, many decide to bring their consciousness back into the body. Out of pure mercy, they voluntarily renounce remaining in the bliss of Samadhi consciousness and stay in the world to help innumerable souls who are still in the sorrowful condition of ignorance. The liberated ones are forever free from the chains of karma, which also means they are no longer subject to the cycle of birth and death. But, all the same, a few of them continue to return to the earth of their own free will. Their only goal is to help other beings to attain liberation, because only one who is free can free others. The commentaries and teachings of the enlightened and liberated ones, known as Guru Vakya, where Vakya means word, are found in all holy scriptures. They all contain the words of the Master. Those who follow them will one day awaken from the dream state of mortal existence and experience divine reality and truth in perfect clarity. Oh, I dislodged myself. Here is one of the last pictures in this book with so much symbolism going on, different points. And we've, practically speaking, come to the end of the book now, as we've certainly concluded our chapter on Samadhi. But there is an epilogue which we can begin to read next time. So thank you very much, my dear viewers, for listening, and namaste. And thank you, dear Ginny, who sent 21 roses while we read Hari Om Tat Sat. And dear Shakira, thank you for your heart, me too. Om Ganganapataye Namaha. We can open up our Sangha to discuss anything on our hearts and minds. Dear Greg RG, you have some wordplay with the word epilogue, or rather epic log, which is what I call what leaves my body after a long period of constipation. Sorry. Dear Hybrid Jen, thank you for your pumpkin spice latte too. That would help with the constipation, actually. Om Dum Durgaye Namaha. Dear Anazek, thank you for your 11 roses too. Hare Krishna. Dear Shadow Wolf, hello. Thank you for asking how I am. Today I am well. Do I have anything in the moon cycles? I'm not sure what phase our moon is in the northern hemisphere. Does it change not just on latitude, but longitude too? Would there be the same moon phase happening in England as in America? Or is it merely how north or south you go? I actually don't know the geometry of moon phases in that regard. I am curious. Thank you for putting up with my joke. But I find so much symbolism in the moon, as humanity has been doing for thousands of years. I mean, besides our planet, there's really only kind of 3 other interesting things going on cosmically. There's the sun, there's the moon, and then there are all the stars. And slowly but surely, we discovered that some of the stars moved. We called them the planets. And now, of course, with technology, there's so many more interesting things happening in deep space. Black holes, neutron stars, galaxies, nebulae. But to ancient humans, there's the moon and the sun. We spent thousands of years just pondering over them. So much symbolism. The sun is always constant by itself. The sun doesn't have a phase where it looks like a crescent, or another phase in which it's only 70% full. Whenever the sun rises, it's as bright as can be. As such, it represents the changeless source out of which everything comes. But the moon, it looks different every time you see her. And she represents the ever-changing nature and the divine feminine. And I think it's a beautiful fact that so many people with ovaries and uteruses experience their uterine and ovarian cycles tied to the lunar cycle too. Thank you, dear Hybrid Jen, for your TikTok too. Radhe Radhe. Dear Shakira, you share that you wish you could trace your cycle with the moon. Regular cycles are not uncommon. Wonder if we go back in time, how much more common cycle irregularity was. I know that so much of our body and mind is cued with the cycles of the sun and moon, but when we're surrounded by lights that simulate them, when we're indoors so much of our time, we don't get to experience them. We're away from large bodies of water that don't tell us about the tides. Perhaps our rhythm can go out of sync with Mother Nature. Your Shakira, you share that when you get it during an eclipse, you're like, ooh, I'm magic. I love that. Thank you for your blessings, dear Neon Jello Pack. Vincent, you wonder if I could talk about the Hari in Om Hari Om. Hari Om Tat Sat. Hari is an epithet for Vishnu. In the trinity of divinity in Hinduism, there is a creator, a preserver, and the destroyer. Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva. And they're all actually the same divinity, just seen performing different functions. And depending on the function that you go to, you might dress up differently. How you'd show up to work might be different than how you'd go to a party, which might be different to how you dress when you go to bed. So too, the divine puts on different personalities depending on what activity it's engaged in. So these personalities are known by different names. That middle one, Vishnu, which is responsible for maintenance, the preservation of this universe, is in some sense the most important. In other senses, the others are more important, but you really only have to perform creation once. You really only ever have to perform destruction once. So the most common form that the divine takes is maintenance. Just to continue to allow this universe to exist, because no one's saying that it has to. At any moment, this whole universe could be like, you know what? This was a great run, guys. I think we call it quits here. I think it's about time that we just stop. But no, all of the laws of physics, they keep on working. Everything continues. So what kind of allowance in this cosmic omniverse allows the universe to keep running when it doesn't have to? That's Vishnu, or Hari. And in some sense, Hari is fulfilling the maintenance by balancing creation with destruction. A perfect balance between bringing new things into existence and old things out. And that cycle of new and old is the maintenance itself. So when we say Om, there are three sounds that we have to consider. Ah, which represents the creation. Oo, which represents the preservation. And which represents the destruction. And if you combine them according to the grammatical rules of Sanskrit called Sandhi, then that forms the sound Om. But when we grammatically deconstruct the sound, it's made up of three constituent parts. And each part represents one of the three forms of the divine. And so when we say Om Hari Om or Hari Om Tat Sat, we're identifying that balancing principle, the U, the Vishnu, the Hari, as being one which encapsulates the whole of Om, of the process of creation, preservation, and destruction. Trust that makes sense. Dear Donsuela, you ask, are Vishnu and the Divine Feminine synonymous with one another? A very interesting question. You may notice that in the Trimurti, the triple form of the divine, Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva, they're all each given masculine pronouns. We refer to them as he, him. But the role of the masculine is actually something much subtler than the actions they carry out. The potential for creation, preservation, and destruction, that is Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva, which is the masculine. But what actually carries out the work that they do is their consort, which is feminine. For Brahma, it's, depending on what you consider, Saraswati. For Vishnu, it's, depending on what you consider, Lakshmi. And for Shiva, it's Parvati. But in all three cases, it's the Shakti which emanates from them that is actually putting in the work. So it's the feminine which is doing the creation, the preservation, and the destruction. But it's the masculine which empowers that energy. Dear Gregarji, is Shakti like the Hari for Parvati? Yes. In a most general sense, Shakti refers to all forms of the divine feminine in Sanskrit. You can consider all divine feminine avatars, dissensions, to be Shakti. But it's most common to refer to Shiva and Shakti as a pair. I think it's because of the alliteration mainly. It just sounds much more satisfying to say Shiva Shakti than any other pair. Dear Amanda, you ask if I may pick a random passage out of any book for you all. Well, we can read a random poem from the Pocket Rumi. How about that? This one sounds provocative. I like it. I'll put the cover up too. This poem by Rumi is called Drowned in God. I like that. Let's begin. Damn the torrent of ecstasy when it runs in flood, so that it won't bring shame and ruin. But why should I fear ruin? Under the ruin waits a royal treasure. He that is drowned in God wishes to be more drowned. While his spirit is tossed up and down by the waves of the sea, he asks, is the bottom of the sea more delightful, or the top? Is the beloved's arrow more fascinating, or the shield? O heart, if you recognize any difference between joy and sorrow, these lies will tear you apart. Although your desire tastes sweet, doesn't the beloved desire you to be desireless? Life of lovers is in death. You will not win the beloved's heart unless you lose your own. Thank you, dear Rumi, for this mystical poem from 800 years ago. Drowned in God is the title. Thank you. Oh, he speaks to such a beautiful point. To a bhakta, to a devotee, every experience becomes one full of love. to the most sincere of devotees, even pain is one that can produce ecstasy. Long as everything we do and persevere through becomes an act of devotion, of service, of prayer, then no matter what we go through, we allow ourselves to be drowned in divinity. Thank you for listening. And thank you for asking for us to read, dear Amanda. The immortal poet Rumi. I love that title, dear Dr. Ginny. Hello, dear David's mom. And thank you for that rose, by the way. You share that your kitty Cookie is not well and your son's not growing. Positive healing. Sounds like a very challenging time for you as a mother. I remind you that it's the love you give that matters most, and you aren't doing anything wrong for that. You offer the love as a space for growing and healing to occur, and that's enough. We may trust that according to the capacity that they have to receive that love and the trust they have to, their bodies and minds are doing everything they can, and that's enough for them too. Although I don't know the specific circumstances, I do know that you needn't be so hard on yourself, especially when you try so hard. That deserves to be recognized. Although it breaks our heart, we can never force our loved ones to use that love in the way that we see possible for them. And I imagine that that's one of the hardest things that a mother has to go through. But if there are any ways in which you can rely on the support of a community, if there are beings in your life that can help you with knowledge about the specific challenges that your loved ones and you face, then you are never alone in what you go through. We may be so hard on ourselves with what we could be doing or what we should or should not have done, but all that matters is in this moment, if you offer a space of love, you are fulfilling your role. And I see that, the divine sees that, the universe sees that. It sounds like you're also taking time to grieve, given the passing of a best friend too. And you have absolutely the right to grieve during this time too. Even if others need us, they also need us to give ourselves enough time to heal. Just enough so that we can be there for them in an even greater capacity. So, I hope that in your downtime you give yourself lots of rest, and that there is a source of love for you in your life too. And in the ways that I can be here for you and the people in the Sangha can be here for you too. I hope that you feel trusted here. Dear Hairspray Betty, thank you for your finger heart too. Om Kring Kalikai Namaha. Very welcome, dear David's mom. I believe in you. Dear Gaia, you ask, do I think the divine can be reincarnated? Or I added a prefix to that, re. Do I think the divine can be incarnated? Well, who are you, dear Gaia? If not a form of the divine that has come to me? Is that question not the story of the whole universe? In everyone and in everything, that source attempts to express itself in such blissful agony, such ecstatic pain, that cosmic frustration to be seen. What a miracle that divine is. It is so expressive, and yet it can never express all of itself at once. I know that. Because that's what makes it infinite. Infinite means there's always something more to discover. And that applies in this case to all that can possibly be emanated from that source. And thank you, dear David's mom, for the hand hearts you shared. For the paper crane and the little crown. Jai Sita Ram. And thank you, Hairspray Betty, for the finger heart you sent too. Hare Krishna. Amanda, you share that the mind divides by its very nature. You cannot dissect a rose to find the beauty of it. And the same applies to humans too. We dissect ourselves in the form of self-harm, self-criticism, and self-conscious analysis. But yet, your beauty transcends all of that. In the same way, you won't find beauty hiding at the center of a rose or any other flower. As a whole, when we zoom out and picture it all together, including where that flower is situated, what it had to go through in order to blossom, and with all the other flowers around to compare, We find something uniquely beautiful in everyone. Dear Gaia, you ask, don't I think beauty is in the eye of the beholder? And by eye, we mean that witness. And by witness, we mean consciousness. And since my consciousness is the same as yours, then that beauty I see in you within my consciousness must also be in you. Hello, dear Mads. Thank you for being here, dear Amanda. Dear Greg RG, you share that you had an idea for a Bill Nye themed TikTok video stemming from Megs. Oh, I have to scroll up now. EMG, the science guy. Yeah. Oh, how funny. You know that joke? What does Bill Nye say when he's going through his mail? Bill. As you get older, no longer postcards from grandma, but bills to be paid. Hello, Finstowoods. David's mom, you had shared that your cat likes my voice. Good thing I learned how to purr. Ever since I learned how to roll my R's, my cats just think I'm purring. And so I'll start rolling my R's, and then my cats start purring. I'll go. My cats will prop up their ears, look at me, and go. I'm like, oh, it's time to purr. Thank you, Holy Potato. The sunglasses, Rose, and W2. Thank you. Gam Ganapataye Namaha. Indeed, dear Amanda. I love how much potential exists within you. I see so much is possible through you, and I see how much of that you've already realized, and that brings me so much joy. Dear Six Stumbling Pandas, you share that you once watched this YouTube video of the Bill Nye theme where it slows every time he says Bill and you were wheezing. Shall we find it? Can we take a field trip to the internet? I found it. Is this what... One second. I think this is what you were referring to.
Bill Nye the Science Guy.
Inertia is a property of matter.
Incredible. That was fun. Thank you for that recommendation, dear Six Tumbling Pandas. Anyway, dear Gaia, you ask, what planet would I visit or revisit? This one, of course. It's my favorite one. I could never leave Mother Earth. I'm happy to hear that. You found peace in that, Jamie. But opening up my browser reminded me that there was something I wanted to share with you all. Time for another show and tell. Did I remember to write the title of this day's show and tell? I don't think I did. Thank you for your patience. It seems I'm having some technical difficulties. Oh. I think my TikTok live studio has glitched out for me. Oh. There, now it's working. Okay. Here we are. So, for show and tell today, one of our dear guests, Crossfires, which I realized has the S already in the name, so I should have put the apostrophe afterwards. Like so. They wanted to share some photos of Italy, so I would like to do so in just a moment. But it comes with some interesting backstory. She had wrote very humbly, is that a word? Humbly. I have some pictures I would like for you to show and tell, if it's okay, which of course it is. It's pictures of when I was living in Italy, and the story behind them would be that we arrived in Italy 2 weeks before the pandemic broke out. There was traveling restrictions and all that going on. So since there was not many tourists, I was able to grab pictures without a lot of people around. One of them is my absolute favorite that I grabbed of my daughter spinning in front of the cathedral in Milan. She was only 8 years old at the time, and we lived in Italy during the whole entire pandemic years, and as many of you know, it was a hotspot for the virus in all the world. So allow me to bring them to the screen. And here I can zoom in for you too. It's going to cover my face. What a beautiful image of Italy. I mean, wow, look at this wonderful body of water. Such green, yellow, red hues on all of the plants. Feels so warm, and cascading atmosphere in the distance getting lighter and lighter. So many houses full of how many memories. And here is that photo she was referring to of our dear daughter spinning in her red dress in front of the cathedral, with the sun setting in the background and the brilliant light of clouds behind. Very rare for this place to be without tourists. I can zoom in even more for you too. Oh, yeah, there we are. All the little birdies around too. And of course the wonderful architecture, but of course dear Crossfire's daughter is in the spotlight. How beautiful. And there's this statue too that she took, which is very grotesque and it comes with a story as well. She asked if I wanted to know the story of the statue, and I said I did, of course, but now I don't know if I wanted to know. The man's name is Saint Bartholomew, and he's inside that chapel that you see my daughter spinning in front of, along with a lot of different statues in the Celtic era. And he is holding his own skin in one arm, as it was one of the 12 apostles that was skinned alive. What a provoking piece of art. And the cathedral name is Duomo di Milano. Yeah, you can see that he's wearing his own skin, but not in the proper way, like a scarf. Yeah, I imagine he's very cold. Here is a staircase in the Vatican, I believe, which is quite an incredible array of architecture. And I think I used this picture a long time ago when I was writing a novel, and I photoshopped it to have infinite levels. So it was very interesting to see. Well, not this photo exactly, since it was taken by dear Crossfires, but the staircase before. There's a beautiful statue here too. You can see the nature behind it. The fountain is off at the moment. Hills in the background, flowers around. Lots of good energy coming from her. And this looks like the same picture at the beginning I just opened a second copy of. But yeah. Those are Crossfire's photos of Italy. So Thank you, dear Crossfires, for sharing them. I like looking through them with everyone here. Thank you all for watching too. Dansuela writes that you don't think you'd ever come back if you went there. I know how you feel. It's very funny, Pop. With the statue of Saint Bartholomew. Are there any tips how he got so dried muscles? Yeah, I guess the answer is become a martyr. But don't actually. I'm happy so many of you like those pictures. And for everyone else watching too, if you want to share something in this space, as I'm always happy to provide an amplification of your story, your journey, I'd be honored to direct you again to the link tree in my bio where there's a show and tell application form. And there you can submit files and videos and PDFs, something important to you, like a creative project or even a story, that something you've been through. I'd be honored to relay that to the world in whatever capacity I have. So thank you. It is a sad story. Like dear Greg RG points out, all the disciples were said to have died horrible deaths. You wonder what the metaphor is there. Well, I guess the apple doesn't fall too far from the tree, now does it? Hello, dear Mads. You're wondering if I've ever been to or have thought about going to New Zealand. I have not, but of all the people I've met that were from New Zealand, I just loved their culture, their personality, their accent. I'm a big fan of the Kiwis. Recently, I had some indigenous New Zealanders of the Maori come to a beautiful garden near my house, and they performed traditional music with the accompaniment of modern instruments and technology. And it was very empowering. And it was a trio of women who were indigenous, and they spoke a lot about their ancestry and the empowerment of women and the genealogy of humans, as well as more abstract parts of our life, like the genealogy of sounds. Like some sounds can be traced back to other sounds. And the genealogy of stars they were talking about too. And they were the only musicians that I've ever really approached. And afterwards, I wanted to strike up a conversation with them about their spirituality. And they were telling me about nothingness being like the divine feminine, because she is like that womb of the whole universe, the void, the darkness. That is the womb in which the universe was born. And I loved that a lot. Dear Mads, I'm happy to hear you find such beauty in the country. You're also Maori. I'm happy to have you here. And I would love to continue learning about your ancestry too. Loving guidance. You share that you call extended spiritual family Wakapapa. Wakapapa. I'm not sure if I'm putting the emphasis on the right sounds. Actually, the soundscape of the Maori languages are fascinating to me. I went home after watching that performance and talking to them. I was looking about the language itself. I forget if it's called something different than the Maori language. But I hope to consider everyone here as an extension of spiritual families. Very sweet, dear Gaia. You know, my mother, she would always tell me in the mornings that the sun has risen just for you, and it would make me very happy. And then I was really curious about what the sun really was. So I remember asking my father, and at the time my parents were separated. So I asked my father, what is the sun? And he said, you know, it's just a really big ball of gas. I said, cool. So the next time I woke up with my mother, he said, the sun has risen just for you. And I said, no, it didn't. It's just a big ball of gas. And I think I broke her heart. Thank you, dear Kev, for the heart me and octet of roses that you had sent. Om Namah Shivaya. And dear Babblefishy, thank you for your quartet of roses. Radhe, Radhe. And thank you for affirming me, Dr. Jenny. And dear Anna, thank you for your heart me. Om Som Somaya Namaha. Dear Amanda, yes, the sun is indeed a flaming ball that will eventually end the earth. But cool, still love it. We got a ways from that happening, fortunately. Thank you, Anna, for your heart me. And thank you, Vincent, for your subscription. If you ever have any sticker recommendations, I'd be happy to accommodate you. And may our journeys continue to cross paths, and each time may we uplift each other. Jai Sita Ram. And thank you, dear Shane, for the disco love too. Jai Satchitanandam. You are very poetic, dear Gaia. Thank you. Dear Dawn, You ask, how often do people ask to play with my beautiful hair? Often enough until I remind them that I could be taking better care of my hair, and so you'd probably get your hand stuck in it. Since it's not exactly a smooth process of moving your hand through it. And I love your unification of both those ideas, dear Solaris, of the sun. Coming from someone with a name named after our sun, our soul, S-O-L, Solaris, it's both. A big ball of gas and something there that arises just for us. And it burns to warm us all on purpose. Wonderful sun. I love that. Oh, how impactful it is to imbue meaning into our world. And thank you, dear Mads. Eureo. And you have a good night too. When I was in 8th grade, my English teacher, who was my homeroom teacher too, but in English class, they were teaching everyone about how to take 3 keywords from each paragraph and then turn that into a sentence. The way of taking a long text and then paragraph by paragraph, condensing it into a distilled essence. And as an example for the whole class to try, our teacher had picked out 3 important words from the text we were reading, and it was life, imbue, and spirit. And she was calling upon everyone to ask what they had written for a sentence that made use of these 3 words. And being someone who likes to find edge cases and find an out-of-the-box answer, I tried to find an answer that was a 3-word sentence. In other words, what combination of those words just made a sentence by itself? And the answer I came up with was, spirit imbues life. And I said that, and she looked at me, and she said, no. And then picked another kid to answer the question. But the older I got, the more I realized how true that statement is. That spirit is what imbues life. Our life is filled with forms, but it would not be animated or given any meaning if we didn't find some way to connect that to spirit, to the essence of a being. Such is why there is more than just particles, more than just atoms and molecules, more than chemical interactions and laws of physics happening. There is something more that imbues it all, something that could never be measured or come up on a test. Something that cannot be found because it is the one finding the very life that you are, a conscious spirit. Thank you, Zadina Jorain, for the quartet of tiny nineties that you sent. Yippee! Dear Kushal, you ask if I understand Nepali. I would love to. I know that it carries a lot of cognates with Sanskrit, of which I am more familiar with, and so perhaps I could point out some of the probable etymologies of some Nepalese words, but of having a conversation in it, you're better off talking to a brick wall. Thank you, dear Bobby So, for your heart me team bracelet and cheer you up too. Om Namah Shakti Shivaya. You know what's funny, dear Gregarji, is that actually at the time my teacher was much more spiritual than I, and I was right smack dab in the middle of my self-identified atheistic science rules above everything else phase, and a bit of a miracle that I even engaged in something revolving around spirituality. And she was certainly one of my favorite teachers, that's for sure. She just had enough of my antics because she knew I was just trying to play with her questions. I would never give her straight answers. And in the middle of class, the middle of a new lesson, I'd put my hand up, and she'd be expecting a question about the topic because many other kids are asking questions about it. Is this going to be on the test? Some kids ask about the Napoleonic Wars. Another kid asks if Napoleon was alive during King Charlemagne. And then I would always ask something completely unrelated. I'd ask, what kind of shampoo do you use? And she would always get me to do push-ups. And I'd happily do them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Good night, dear Don Kenny. May your dreams be as sweet as you are. Dear Rippled Horizon, you ask if I've experienced non-dualism because it breaks your brain. Non-duality is one of the most beautiful philosophies and one of the most ancient too, particularly in the form of Advaita Vedanta, the non-dual philosophical tradition stemming from the Vedas, among humanity's earliest known so-called divine revelations. fundamental idea of Advaita Vedanta and non-duality in general is Tattvam Asi. You are that which you are searching for. This whole universe is you. Aham Brahmasmi. I am that eternal, immortal essence of existence. I feel like I am separate from you, but that's only because my body is separate from your body, and I have falsely believed that I am the body. Therefore, as long as I do so, then you and I are different people. But at the level of the Atma, the true self, you and I are one. One with each other, one with everyone, one with the source of the whole universe. That one source has descended into the form of the material reality, in the form of the many, so that we can experience ourselves together. And there is so much beautiful truth to this. But we can also get lost in that idea in ways that bring a lot of anxiety too. And I know that. We have to be careful not to venture into a territory called Neo-Advaita, which is a recent movement, which is a modern reinterpretation of the traditional Advaita Vedanta. And in that new movement, it becomes extremified, radicalized to the point where everything is an illusion, and that you have no body, you have no mind, there is no truth, that we reject absolutely everything's existence besides yourself. And I'm happy to tell you that that is not the original teachings of Advaita Vedanta. That even in non-duality, we recognize the reality of body and mind and personality and ego and people as separate from ourselves. It's just that there are different layers of reality, and at the highest layer, we are one. But at this layer, we are different, and that's real too. And we can embrace that diversity as a valid experience too. Dear Sovereign, can you clarify? So I don't believe in free will. I wonder what words of mine made that a question for you. No, absolutely there is free will. No doubt about that. Especially in Advaita Vedanta too. It's just that free will is much more subtle, and it does have limitations. We don't directly influence the world. That is clear. It's not like we're the ones deciding which atoms interact with each other, whether fusion is happening in the sun, what phase the lunar cycle is in at the moment. But physically speaking, we don't control the world. Even at the level of the body, we're not manually unzipping our DNA and signaling the messenger RNA to deliver the right amino acids to the ribosomes to begin putting together the proteins that carry out their functions. And then with each enzyme processing all the nutrients that come into our body and our metabolic system, taking the oxygen out of our lungs and putting it in the middle of our hemoglobin, we are not undergoing cellular division consciously, secreting hormones, firing synapses, raising voltage thresholds on our nervous system. Clearly, all of that is handled by nature, according to natural laws. Even our mind appears to be shaped by our environment, by our culture, by the people that come into our lives, what occurs to us. We carry thoughts that come from other people, and we call many intrusive, as in, I didn't put that there. And when we just want to fall asleep, thoughts about that embarrassing thing we did in middle school arise. When we want to do that thing that we love to do, thoughts of doubt surface too. So it's clear that the mind is of its own, and I suppose that's why we call things having a mind of their own. And I like that addition to Dear Mama JJ, that bacteria in our guts rule our brains a bit as well. Even the decisions we make, neurologists have such advanced instruments and models now that we can predict what decision a person is going to make even before they are consciously aware of making it. But I tell you what, there is one thing that nobody can convince you otherwise that you don't have free will over. To rephrase that without all of those negations canceling out, there is something that is 100% certain that you do have free will over. We talked about how the world is out of our control, how the body is out of our control. That's a part of the physical. In Sanskrit, there's a beautiful word called the antakarana, and that refers to an inner faculty of cognition. And there are 4 of them. The first is the mind. But distinct and separate from the mind is the intellect. And we said that both of these things, the mind and the intellect, they are autonomous. But there is something higher. 2 things higher, in fact. That's the ego and the consciousness. The consciousness itself has nothing to control. It is one. It is that non-dual substance we call Atman or Brahman. There's nothing for it to exert control over. That is our essential nature. But the ego, on the other hand, the first dissension of consciousness, we absolutely get to direct. Because what is the ego? It is our sense of self, our identity. Because even if this whole world appears like a movie, you get to decide which part of it speaks to you, represents you. Whatever you are, you decide that. What you choose to identify with. We can have a body, and with it a gender, an orientation, a belief system coming from our parents, a family, a nationality, an occupation. You could be situated in all of that, given by circumstance, without your control. But we do get to decide whether that moment defines us or not. And others too may choose how they see us, but the way we see ourselves doesn't have to be dependent on that. Ego is just where awareness flows. If it flows into the body, and you feel that is what you are. When it flows into your family, you feel this is who I am. When it flows into the possibilities that you see in a loved one, you say, this is who I am. I am here for you. And when it flows to the whole world, you say, I am of the earth, Mother Nature. You get to decide where your awareness goes, because awareness is not something defined by physics. Awareness is not a chemical or any kind of particle interaction. It's not bound by gravity, electromagnetism, or the strong or weak nuclear forces. It can't be measured. It can't be seen. It can't be heard. It cannot even be known. But yet, that is what you are. It's awareness alone. And you take your nature wherever you go, and there you feel yourself imbued with spirit in life. And we can go further with that too, because wherever we take our awareness, as that creates a sense of self there, that sense of self or ego then gives us an experience there. And that experience seeds our intellect from the knowledge sown from that moment. And then that intellect acts based on the thoughts and the knowledge gained. And so a mindset is cultivated so. And then our body goes in the motion according to the thoughts that our intellect decide are worthy of us expressing ourselves through. And then our world is shaped by what our body goes to achieve in it. So even though we may not control the world, our body, our mind, or even our intellect directly, just by the flow of awareness, the whole process can be guided so. And this is what it is said in the ancient scriptures, unfolded by millennia of sages. Dear Sovereign, you share, is our highest self spectating? Indeed. But let us not forget that spectating is not a mere passive act. Becoming aware of something influences that thing too. And so mere spectating is the very energy which illumines all activities of this universe. A flower would not grow if there wasn't anyone to see it grow. None of this creation would happen without a witness to experience it so. And thank you, Dr. Jenny, for your quartet of roses and the tiny too. Yippee! That's right, dear Sovereign. The witness has the free will to witness. Dear Anazek, thank you for your heart, me too. Radhe Radhe. And Samra, thank you for your hanging lights. Ariom Tatsat. Dear Mama JJ, you share that scientists study how people get in the flow in order to help business people and athletes, etc. But you used to be in the flow every day as a youth, but school interrupted it constantly. True teaching only comes when the teacher stops to accommodate the needs of the student, not when the student stops to accommodate the needs of the teacher. To throw everyone in the same room and expect them to understand in the same way, in the same amount of time, with the same words, with the same tests, assumes that we all learn in the same way. But each of our minds are unique in the experiences we've had. True teaching can only occur at the speed of the slowest student. In the same way that a highway is only as fast as the slowest car, or a chain is only as strong as its weakest link. And there is nothing wrong with taking your time to learn. In fact, those who take the most time to learn something get to appreciate it in more depth, from greater amounts of angles and perspectives than anyone else. Dear Nume, you ask, what about destiny? Do I believe in that? I tell you what, everything you need to know about what I believe in is found in this moment. Because this moment contains everything there is to believe in. It contains the summary of everything that has happened and the seed for everything that will. It contains everything that has come to me for me to use, and contains all the challenges that I could ever surmount. I do not know what will happen next, but I do know is that I can influence that depending on what I do now. And in that way, I certainly shape my own destiny. The beautiful thing about the laws of karma is that karma tells us that simultaneously we have free will and fate, because our free will is what determines our fate. If we refrain from making any more decisions, and every decision we've made until that point will be what sets us up for everything we have yet to experience. But if we continue to engage in this moment now, then what we have to experience will surely change. Otherwise, there would be no point in engaging in anything. We could just sit back and let our destiny play out. But we have an ability to engage with this world for a reason. And that's so that we can bring our life and the lives of those around us to higher and higher things. And thank you, dear Anna, for your GG too. Hari Om Tat Sat. And Le Bob, thank you for your rose too. Dear Andrews, you ask, if this is our now, then why can't we enjoy this now regardless of what is our eternal nature? Exactly. Nothing stopping you from enjoying this moment other than the choice not to. Even if this moment is a sad one, an angry one, difficult one, enjoyment doesn't mean that everything's going right. Could you imagine watching a movie and everything goes right in the movie? There's no rising action, there's no climax, there's no resolution. Could you imagine enjoying that movie? Maybe part of you says, I could enjoy it for a while as a change, but that's just it. It is the change of pace which creates the sense of newness that we enjoy. And that newness is always unfolding, no matter the plot. We don't watch a sad movie just because something good might happen. There are plenty of movies without a happy ending, and yet we still enjoy watching them. And therefore, why is the movie of life any different? Why can't we enjoy our heartbreak? Why can't we sit in the bus stop under the rain, waiting for that bus to come, with a kind of deep peace? Even when our body is tired and our mind is depressed, deep down, the soul of the universe loves the story, because we know nothing truly bad happens to the one watching, the one witnessing, the one experiencing that you are. Hello, my friend from Lebanon. You share that you had a migraine today. Do I have a mantra for that? I think the best sound for a migraine is silence. But I've certainly experienced them too. And we enjoy migraines. Well, the body and mind certainly do not. So as long as we feel that we are those, then of course not. But if we can zoom out and see the greater picture, for example, as Billy wrote, sometimes a migraine is what we need to be forced into slowing down and rest, and we can enjoy that possibility that it gives to us. But this is a moment of reflection. Have I been overwhelming myself with things to see and do? And I enjoy this moment of introspection where I get to decide how I want to spend the rest of my day. Can I be happy with the possibility to get more in touch with my mind and body's needs is there before me as a reminder to be in touch with my health, because even then there must be something of value in that experience. Thank you, dear Cody Jane, for your heart me too. Hari Om Tat Sat. And dear HTTP Andrews, you ask, why does it seem that there is nothing to ascend to? And why can't consciousness exist after our death? My friend, each moment is our next ascension. Everything that we are capable of doing is something higher because of the evolution of our universe. So many different forms come in and out of being, but they arise from one consciousness. That consciousness that has been there since the beginning of time, watching over this whole universe, finding expression through anatomical life. That consciousness will remain after death too, because it is the space of non-existence. It cannot come out of existence, for it does not exist. And yet, it is real. In the same way that silence is not a sound, and yet we can hear it. In the same way that black is not a color, and yet we can see it. In the same way that stillness is not a movement, and yet we can feel it. Consciousness is not an existence, and yet we are it. Hello, dear angel. You're told of love. You ask, have I had the experience of ego dissolution? You mean the one that we're always having? In each moment? Dissolution is a beautiful word. When we drop sugar into our tea, where does the sugar go? it dissolves into the solution. You can no longer see it, but you definitely can taste it. It may appear, as we drop sugar into tea, that the sugar no longer exists. But yet, as it becomes one with the tea, it makes it sweeter. So too, ego is the sugar of our existence. When we dissolve it into the tea of life, we make it sweeter. And by doing so, our sense of self, that ego, becomes one with all. Which is very poetic, but practically speaking, what that means is that we find a sense of self as we have in this body and mind, in every body and mind, that when we are happy, we think about all those who would like to know this happiness too. And we feel ourselves in them by sharing that happiness with the world. And when others are experiencing suffering, we feel that too in our sense of self, and we ask, how can I share this experience with you so you feel like you're not alone? Dear Sovereign, you don't know about free will. Well, what's the alternative? Regardless of whether you believe in it, life is still gonna go on. If you feel like you have none, then even this conversation is a joke. Because then it's a conversation about something that you don't have. But how does that make you feel? Aren't you empowered to make a difference by believing that you do? Whether or not you can prove it, does it really matter? Because if you feel like you have the ability to make a difference in this world, then isn't that enough? Otherwise, when we see all the suffering in the world, we say to ourselves, I can't do anything about that. But that's not fair. We have to choose to believe in free will so that we are empowered to be a part of this world. And by doing so, that conscious spirit expresses itself in acts of humility, kindness, care, love. Without that, we devoid this world of any meaning, and we devoid ourselves as having any part in it. Though it may be true at some philosophical level that we are a witness, even quantum mechanics shows today that the power of observance affects reality. So let us, through the power of our observance, bring that witness, at the very least, to all that which deserves to be seen, heard, felt, known. If that's all we can do, and through the power of perception, let us illuminate the world. And dear dreaming consciousness, you share that energy flows where attention goes. And thank you, dear Bubbles, for your octet of roses too. Bhargaye Namaha. Dear Dr. Ginny, you share that love is just attention, and every living thing responds to our attention, to our love, to its power. And that's right, dear Andrews. We would not be able to render service without our physicality, without a hand that can reach out to help. How would we be able to do so? And that is why it is so beautiful that we do have our physicality. What a grace. Could you imagine what life would be like without that possibility? Just being, without anything to see, to hear, to touch, to feel, to taste, to smell. Nowhere to go, nothing to do. One could say that you are one with everything. But what is that everything, if not the very potential for everything to happen, for things to see, for sights, sounds, smells, tastes, touch, challenges, triumph, victory and loss, learning and growing? The experience of the universe depends on that one which has come into physicality for the expression of being. Dear Clayton, you ask, will you miss those you love when your physical body has completed its journey? I ask you now, in this body, do you miss those that you loved when your previous body completed its physical journey? Or in some level, has your system made peace with each life being one in which you get to see different people come and go? And because this universe is the dance of the same souls, are you truly missing from anything when you are one with everything? And dear Andrews, you had asked, am I a part of the illusion? And what if you all have your own bubble to expand? My words have value only when they can relate to your own. So do not judge the words based on faith. Ask yourself, are they true to you in your experience? Then it does not matter, even if I am a mere figment of your imagination, because the words themselves are real, since you have found reality of your own to have been expressed through them. Whenever we listen to another being, it is not a matter of faith that we learn from their words, but a matter of connecting our own experience with theirs in relation. And if we can connect to those words of others, then we discover that there really is no other, but one being, that you are, that I am, that we are, that appears to experience each other in the same way that one source appears to have brought a whole world of manifold forms into existence separately. They truly are connected and could only exist in relation to each other. Your loving guidance, you share that you felt like an outcast because you were quieter and thought that you had Asperger's because you talked a lot when you were anxious or excited, and we are all sensitive to energy at some level. And those who have such diagnoses in their life are at some level just sensitive to a dimension of life that perhaps we are not. And that does not make them wrong or incomplete or invalid in their experience. It just means that their experience is unique, and what they provide to us is so special, because the way we can relate to those whom are perceived as different is to dive deep enough to the place in which we are the same. Welcome, dear Fadnor. I may not know what compels you to join this live stream each, but I hope you consider your presence voluntary, as you are free to come and go. And during that time that you are here, I wish to accommodate your unique experience of life too, and learn from your ways of seeing this world too. I love that, dear dreaming consciousness too. Be connected to another is to connect to all that is, was, and will forever be. Dear Mama JJ, you ask, can there be, mathematically or scientifically, different beings in different dimensions with us? There can only be one being. That is the nature of being. All this around us, including our body, is the doing. It is the stuff, which is a part of the experience. All of that stuff we call as part of objective reality. Essentially, the nature of objective reality is just that it comes in different forms. Would there be anything to see if there was only one color? Anything to feel if there was only one temperature? Anything to hear if there was only one frequency? Anything to know if there was only one thought? To experience requires multiplicity, and so the objects of the world are many. But for the very same reason, the objective world is filled with multiplicity. The subjective world is devoid of any. One subject, peering through many eyes, many minds, many ears. And so, regardless of what exists in the dimensions we experience physically or beyond, they are always going to be extensions of ourselves. Because that which can change is a part of the world, but that which is changeless, that being, that witness perceiving, is a part of us. And thank you, dear Dob Darker, for your heart me too. Om Brahm Hanumate Namaha. And dear Michelle, thank you for your heart me and trio of roses too. Radhe Radhe. But dear Mama JJ, you specify why some indigenous people briefly see little people or Sasquatches. Sasquatches, that's funny. It's like a Sasquatch, but it looks like a pumpkin with legs. Big feet, but just pumpkin body. Stomp, 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 stomp. Well, how can I talk about that which is not within my experience? In my experience, those kinds of fantastical creatures, they exist in my mind, in my heart, in my subconscious, in my dreams. That doesn't mean they don't exist. It just means that they exist at a different level of consciousness. In the subconscious, in the subtle body. In the waking state, they're not there. For me at least. But if the dream state and the waking state were to combine, I don't see why we wouldn't be able to perceive the overlap of these two levels of consciousness at once. The subconscious is very much a real place. Many great psychologists have studied it and come to fantastical conclusions about it, like how, in some sense, beings do also live in the subconscious and find expression there. Archetypes, deities, maybe angels and demons too. Regardless of the words we choose, they do have a real existence, at least on the level of the subconscious. And if you believe that the subconscious world is just as real as the waking, then they are real too. And hello, dear Kelsey. Dear Michael, you ask, do I feel that we are in a matrix? You know, the word matrix is beautiful. Of course, it was popularized by the movie series, The Matrix. And that came from computer architecture, which uses various things like dot matrix displays to generate images. And that comes from mathematics as a data structure called a matrix. And that comes from various places, even in the ancient world, of textile fabrics forming grids where things align. And that comes from, ultimately, words for the feminine, like matriarch. You'll find a beautiful overlap in the etymology between words for material existence and maternal existence, between mother and matter. That's why we call this world Mother Nature. The idea that this world is an illusion or some sort of simulated existence comes from very, very ancient ideas. If we go back far enough in time, we find this word Maya, which is etymologically connected to the word matrix. And Maya, still to this day, sometimes gets translated to illusory reality. But literally speaking, it means the feminine and material existence that includes this world and the moon and the sun and all the stars and the bodies that exist within it. In the philosophy of Advaita Vedanta, there is an idea that this world is only a part of a much, much greater existence. And due to recent movements like Neo-Advaita, it has gained the connotation of being fake, that everything we interact with, somehow we are being fooled into believing is real. But the truth of this ancient tradition is not that the physicality is what's fake. It's our identification with it and the belief that it will bring us happiness that's illusory. We are not being faked into believing that we have a body and that we live in a world which is 3D and there are various things we can do in it. That's absolutely real. But if we somehow believe that any of that will bring us happiness, that some part of the objective world is responsible for our fulfillment, then that's a mirage, something that is unreal. Like the idea that more money will bring us happiness. That's a part of the Maya. The idea that fame, power, or progeny, glory, honor is somehow going to fulfill this urge for happiness. That is the misnomer here. That there is no greater reality than this one. It's just that the greatness comes from within rather than without. That what we truly have to achieve is nothing of this material universe, though we are eternally bound in it. It's in discovery of our true self as the one which is watching, the witness, the experiencer, the consciousness. Only by the discovery of this consciousness can we truly find happiness, and so that is described as the ultimate reality. And so the world of forms, relatively so, may be considered as a lesser reality, but not because it is in any way simulated or unreal, but simply because it will not bring us lasting happiness, and that any identification with it is not going to define us, because everything that comes into our experience must also go too. And anything that goes, if we feel we are that thing which is leaving us, And of course we suffer, but when we wake up to the fact that it never truly was us, then there is nothing to grieve. Dear Michael, you share that you have no desire to come back to this realm. I'm sorry to hear that, but there truly is no other realm. You say so only because you have yet to discover the meaning in it. You may be surrounded by suffering and have lived a challenging life, but that's no reason to run away from it. You see, it's no mistake that there is struggle, strife, torment, and suffering here. In fact, if you're patient, there is a beautiful experience immersing all of that. We may be so hard on ourselves that we give up trying to find the value of all of this darkness before we have found the inner light that shines throughout it all. We experience trauma and describe it as a write-off, a childhood that never was. We see how much pain exists in the world and decide that there's nothing to be found of value here. The world doesn't change, and people don't either. But that was never the point. You see, your nature is an infinite reservoir of love. Do you expect that love to fit anywhere else than a world with infinite place for your love? Because that's all the suffering in the world is a place for you to be. And by you, again, I mean that love. You simply cannot fit into a world that already is perfect. There is no room for an infinite being except for a space that has infinite space for you to express yourself in. And that is the nature of all the problems that we face. The problem itself is not a limitation. It's the negative space surrounding that limitation which compels you to fill it, to provide help or wisdom or patience or understanding or attention or just awareness. By being that which fills in the gaps of this world becomes the frame for that infinite love to be expressed. I'm happy to hear that answer resonated with you. Thank you, T. Gates, for the fire you sent to Radhe Radhe. And dear to Beanie, thank you for your heart meet too. Om Aim Saraswatyai Namaha. I love the way you put that, dear Solaris. We are ultimate potentials for unlimited good. Now we are getting close. My bedtime. or more accurately, the time in which I begin my bedtime protocols. So I'd like to slowly land the plane for tonight. Near the end, are you wondering what these are? These are called hand symbols and are known by like 100 different names across the world, but hand symbols are a good English name. Is it time to sleep with the angels? Yes. And anything else dormant in my subconscious. But before we go, I wish to reflect back on you my question of the day, which is, how do we allow our mind to rest? Our body, we can help to bring it to a still, a comfortable environment. We can make the room nice and quiet and dark and cool. We can take off any scratchy clothing. We can massage muscles that are tense. But how do we let our mind relax, rest, recharge? Thank you, Murated is Official, for your rose too. Ariom Tatsat. Baraka, you shared to be still. I like that answer. And Anna, you share lo-fi hip-hop beats. I'm happy you find rest for your mind there. Hello, Baraka. It's a good question, dear Inevitable. Does it rest? Our mind is not known for this. Absolutely. But there are certainly things we can do to bring our mind to a frictionless state, where all of its bearings are smooth and there is not so much provocation propping up. General kind of free-flowing state. Dear Solaris, you share that we can reimagine the day as if everything had gone as good and it could have, so it feels healed. I like that. We become more aware of all the possibilities that were there, and we can learn from going through the motions of what could be. Dear Michael, you share that your dreams are awakening many blessings in the near future. I love that. Thank you for that affirmation. Dear Sovereign, you share listening to nature and its affirmations of expression over dissection. I like that a lot. Dear Amanda, you had written that for you it's hard to allow your mind to be still, but you like this meditation when you go back to bed, your thoughts run wild, and you see thought as a balloon, and as they pop up, you just let them go. I love that. What a great visualization. The Chaos Pixie, you share that you try to meditate while you work, but you're a newbie. When you sleep can be a great way of resting our mind, of course. That is the purpose of deep sleep. Of course, our dreams, our mind is still active. But on to what you share of meditating while at work. Let yourself find rest in the service that you do at work. All work is a kind of service. How do we rest in service? Well, we understand that everything that we're capable of doing right now, as it unfolds, we are fulfilling our nature. Our true nature is a kind of servant, not in the sense of being a slave to anyone or anything, but in the sense of providing for a greater whole. We fulfill that purpose, and we rest in the trust, in the knowing that what we are doing is fulfilling by itself. And that's the meditation of living prayerfully through our actions, of karma yoga. Now, my alarm is alarming. My phone, I just have to turn that off. There. You, Amanda, you share that. You do that meditation. Pardon me, got the hiccups. Until your mind is calm. Dr. Ginny, you share box breathing. That's a great way to let our mind rest indeed. Ms. Bliss, you share nature walks, closed eyes, and focus on sounds around, soft light and frequency music, and time with your dog. I love all of those very practical ways of allowing our mind to rest. Dear Christine, you had shared that your mind hasn't found rest in 146 days. Well, who's counting? Clearly your mind is. Well, you can give your mind some rest by letting go of the need to count. I wonder why this number for you is so specific. If something traumatic had happened 146 days ago, I wish you love and healing, and there's plenty of time for rest in that journey. Dear Hybrid Jen, you find rest in darkness under the stars. And Samra, you share that you take time to reflect on the good, happy moments and peace in the decisions you've made. I love that. And thank you for being here too, dear Michael. I'm a little in the past. I have a way to get back to the present moment and all the wonderful comments that were shared. Meditation. Yeah, what a wonderful answer, dear Greg Archie. And you know that we don't stop all thoughts for this, but you like to sit by a body of water and just listen. I love that. Dear The End, you apologize if this question is too sensitive. How do I think the end will come in terms of love? In terms of love, there are only beginnings. Dear Angel, you have a busy mind, but it quiets when you dance hard or meditate or writing. I love that for you. Lord Shiva is said to be half the time in meditation, half the time in dance. And Lou, you share sitting by the ocean too. And I see your question, dear Chamomile. If you can rephrase it in more collaborative words that bring about a sense of understanding and compassion, I would be more happy to attend to your question. And dear Michael, you share that we are divine perfection in motion. I love that. Dear Tony, you asked how my country of Canada is holding it together. I'm not sure. In general, all I know is that within my community, I still get to smile when I see my neighbors and they wave back to me. And I'm very grateful that if ever I need some medical help, hospitals are around me still functioning. I know that there's still wonder in our hearts and peace in little ways. And when it comes to the people and places in my life, I'm happy to be a part of them. And in any way in which I can help support them in their journey, that's an honor for me too. Dear Maya, your answer to the question of the day is walking in the forest. I love that. And Vad, you share that you can also rest by thinking of when you were a baby and still you got looked out for and helped. I like that. Sometimes it feels good to be like a baby of the universe and consider Mother Nature taking care of us and the Holy Father as well. Thank you, dear Isabella, for your trio of roses too. Ariom Tatsat and Starlight Wow. Thank you for your flowers too. Om Aim Sarasvatiyai Namaha. Dear Elena, you had asked, what do I enjoy when I go live and share those wonderful thoughts with the people, random or not? And thank you for finding wonder in my thoughts. Well, I can tell you that after this live stream, I'm gonna make some food for myself and enjoy my body getting the food and drink it needs for nutrition. And I'm probably gonna watch a TV show, House MD, if any of you are wondering. That's my guilty pleasure. And then I'm gonna go through all of my messages and fall asleep, probably watching videos about things that I love. And loving guidance, you had shared that deep breathing as a way of allowing your mind to rest. Namaste, feline. Maybe that you find a lot of rest in watching oceans and having a swim too. That's nice. That is your last name, Jake. Welcome. I have not seen that, no, dear Mama JJ. Okay, I would like to pause our question of the day there for now. I do apologize if I wasn't able to attend to the answer that you shared. Sometimes there's just so many wonderful answers that I get lost in them. Before we go, I would like to read from another section of the Hidden Power in Humans. And then if you're interested, we can end with a guided meditation. I can guide everyone through just a very simple meditation. Thank you, dear feline, for the rose you sent to. Om Namah Shivaya. Here, I'll display the cover in case anyone's curious what we're reading, which is The Hidden Power in Humans, about chakras and kundalini by Young Santa, also known as Paramahans Swami Maheshwarananda. Thank you, dear feline, for another pair of roses too. Om Brahm Bhairvaya Namo Namaha. Witness of beauty, thank you for your heart, me too. Namaste. Jai Satchitananda. We are very close to ending our book. All we have to read is an epilogue and some information about the author and the lineage from which he comes spiritually. Most people are still far away from realization. In this book, I have described the path to the self. However, I would like to recommend to readers not to perform the practices and techniques immediately, but to first read the entire book carefully and repeatedly. This allows a deeper understanding of the significance, function, and effects of the individual chakras to be gained. The path of Kundalini Yoga should only be commenced under the instruction and guidance of a realized master where possible, because otherwise one can easily go astray. The instruction of the master happens through the mantra given to the disciples, as well as through yoga techniques and kriyas. A prerequisite for reaching the goal is a firm decision to follow the spiritual path lifelong, to be patient and to persevere with daily practice, to have faith in the Master, and to trust in the path you have begun. The Master offers spiritual power, direction, and assistance, but it is our own individual endeavor that will bring the words of the Master to realization. For everything that we would like to do in life, there are 3 things to consider. First, we need to ascertain our present starting point and accept this. Second, we should be clear about the goal we want to reach. And third, we must decide on a path that will lead us to this goal. Once the goal has been decided upon, one does not think of the effort required for the journey ahead. With patience and concentration, all difficulties are overcome and one reaches the chosen goal. Though it is important to be clear about your goal, this fact doesn't mean that you have already reached it. This can be a fatal mistake. Some people think, I believe in God and have found my personal God, therefore I have reached my goal. This conclusion is false. It means that we have recognized the goal intellectually, not that it has been realized in our consciousness. When the latter is the case, we experience realization, and then we are no longer the same person as before. We have gone through many experiences and have matured through them, and the goal has also changed and turned out to be far more magnificent than we could have ever imagined. When singers practice a song, inwardly they have a vision of how it should sound. They work hard training and polishing their singing until the song matches the vision or even excels it. It is the same with a painter, a writer, a sculptor, or an architect. At first, only the idea or vision exists in the mind. A long, tiring creative process is required until a work of art is produced from it, manifesting the inner blueprint. Obstacles and setbacks belong to every path. They are the trials that we have to go through. Some grow with the difficulties and become stronger. Others begin to doubt and give up. Only those who stand firm like a rock in the breakers of life will realize their goal. Recognize your goal and work with determination and concentration towards it. One day you will come to the end of the path and immerse yourself in the infinite. When you have reached the goal, you will recognize how wonderfully and perfectly the divine has arranged everything. By then you will have developed so many inner powers and willpower that the difficulty and obstacles that once loomed up huge and mighty like mountains now look like minute grains of sand that you can brush away with the flick of a hand. Puri Mahaprabhuji once said, the guru of our author, "True art is to pull an elephant through the eye of a needle." One day, the puffed up elephant of our ego will become so small that it can be pulled through the eye of a needle without resistance. This is precisely the task that we need to accomplish. Our life can be compared to a river that flows between two shores. On one shore we find suffering, pain, and disappointment, and on the other, happiness, joy, and harmony. But generally we flounder helplessly in the waves of existence and are tossed from one shore to the other by our destiny. The Master is the bridge that raises us above the course of our destiny and leads us from the shore of sorrow to the shore of bliss. With the love and blessings of Guru Deva, the Divine Teacher, Mahamandaleshwar Parmahans Swami Maheshwarananda. Thank you for listening. At another level, we have thus concluded the book, but still information remains about the lineage of spiritual masters to which the author belongs. We'll read more about those next time. So, thank you for listening. And again, thank you, dear Usha Bai, for sending such a wonderful book for me to read to everyone here. Namaste. Thank you, dear witness of beauty, for the hand hearts you sent to. Om Namah Shakti Shivaya. And dear Samra, thank you for your autumn leaves too. As we approach autumn, I reflect on all of the life that has grown to this level and how there is going to be falls, just like the leaves, after using up their purpose, comes into the soil again to be reused and recycled. so too on this journey, all of the tools and thoughts, belief systems that we've had thus far, they too may fall into the fertile soil of our subconscious to be turned into mulch by our dreams and create what's possible tomorrow. Om Brahm Hanumate Namaha. And thank you, dear feline, for your pair of roses also. I'm happy you enjoyed that reading. I like to normally end my live streams with a meditation. Typically, I like to do mantra meditation, where we pick a mantra and meditate on it. But because on Sundays I like to especially dedicate this space to ultimate relaxation, validation, affirmation, I won't go into such a direction for our live stream, just a simple guided meditation. So if you'll allow me just a moment, let me set up a small piece of text on screen that'll explain to those who come what we're doing. And without further ado, meditation always begins by bringing us back to what's familiar. When we get lost in the realm of unprocessed memory or provocative imagination, we stray away from what is here and now. And truthfully, any moment by itself is a peaceful one. It's when we get lost in what could be and what has been, does our peace run away, like water leaking out of a cup with a hole. What gets us is not the nature of any moment in particular, it's how the moment changes into the next. We can lose ourselves in what is lost to each moment and what comes. The breath has always been an excellent metaphor for harmonizing the flow of the intake of new experience with the outtake of what we have to release. And so I'd like to do 3 conscious breaths. 4 seconds in, 4-second hold, 4-second release. Starting with the first. That's 1. Now number 2. And number 3. Balancing our breath in this way signals to our body at a physical and symbolic level that in this moment we have just as much of an experience to receive as we have one to let go of. We fear that by letting go of the past, that which made us happy will no longer be here. But the unfortunate truth is that holding on to memories only prevents us from making new ones here. And all the happiness that we have to gain from those memories comes from learning from them. And the process of learning means that we acknowledge what's made possible now because of them. So I want all of us to look back on a memory that continues to pop up in our mind. Feel the weight, positive, negative, and just observe it. What does that memory mean to you? Where were you at that time? How did you feel in the moment? What was your relationship to the people in that memory like? And I won't ask for you to let go of it, so don't worry about that. That's not for me to do. But I will ask, of that memory, what has been made possible since then that might not have been without that experience? What's something that's available now that you might not have realized without that moment? And how can offering space to that possibility now fulfill that experience we had so long ago? In what way can we give life to the seeds that have been planted then? Attending the garden of the present moment here. And breathe in that possibility and breathe out any tension that we've had associated with that memory. Impression may always be with us. We don't have to let that go. We let go of the ways in which we feel stuck, because we find that the continuum of life is still emerging from our past now. And we see the interconnectedness, past and the present. Past still lives for the present, and therefore we get the chance to do something with it. That possibility is real, and it is here. And if that made sense to you with that memory that came to you, why shouldn't it be true for everything else we've experienced also? That everything that we've ever had the honor of experiencing, pleasant or unpleasant, has been a seed for something that's possible now. Let us grow this garden with the rays of light of love and the absorbent nature of water as acceptance, and the fertile soil of trust in ourself as the foundation. And all of the movements of our thoughts as the worms and fungi and bacteria that converts our experience into nutrients for these seeds to one day blossom. And we let that impression sink in. We take one more deep breath in and another out. And we rub our hands together. Like you were creating a spark between two sticks. And from that warmth, we cover our eyes and feel how much energy radiates from our hands. How much space exists in what we envision for life to thrive. And we open our eyes if they were closed, and we consider that a meditation. Namaste. With that, we'll end our live stream tonight. Thank you for coming. Thank you, Dr. Ginny, for your trio of roses. Om Namah Shakti Shivaya. Dear Anna, you share that you enjoy the feeling of the air as it gently grazes your nose. And you like to meditate on that, guys. Thank you for sharing, dear Anna. May you have a wonderful night, dear Amanda. Much love to you, dear Sovereign. Namaste, Cat. Thank you, Baraka. Thank you, Miss Bliss. Good night, dear Samra. I'm happy to hear that, dear Dr. Jenny. Your tears are always beautiful, told of love. A single drop could turn a whole desert into a jungle. Good morning, Alice from Holland. Thank you, Neat Pink Shark, for your quintet of tiny dinies too. Bee! And if any part of this live stream was valuable for you, I'll upload the whole recording to my Yamsox my Yamsox ASMR YouTube channel, since that's where the ASMR Sundays go. But the readings and the meditations are clipped and they're put in a dedicated playlist on my Yamsox Lives YouTube channel in general, so that you can find them all in the same playlist. Good morning, the Chaos Pixie from Italy. May you have a day ahead of you full of courage, peace, and trust. Dear the one who doesn't lie. And dear Amanda, your presence is always one that fills the space with lots of joy. So thank you for being here. I appreciate your mischief. And although I don't have a schedule for my live streams, dear Cody Jane, when it comes to the hour of the day, I do try to go live once a day. And before I go live, I put a story out on my Instagram or my TikTok. But my messages are always open on Instagram, WhatsApp, Telegram. If I'm not busy, you're welcome to send a message and say, hey, what time do you think you're going to go live today? And if I see it, I'll happily tell you. But may this live stream, in essence, be an offering to the divinity within you. Om Asato Ma Satgamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Murtyor Ma Amritangamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om. Lead us from the unreal to the real, from darkness to light, from death to immortality. Om. Peace, peace, peace. May you have a wonderful rest of your night, your evening, your afternoon, your morning, or if you're on the International Space Station, whatever time it is for you there. You're on the North Pole or South Pole. Wonderful rest of your summer or winter, I guess. And everyone else, all included, may you have a wonderful rest of your present moment. Namaste.